King Arthur the 71st. Welcome to the beautiful Calumet Park with the infamous Rainbow Castle. About to show you around a little bit, show you where we party, throw down, fight fights and whatnot, you know. So yeah, just come on in, I'll show you around a little bit.
Medieval castles bring excitement to all, while they stand larger than life and leave observers to only imagine the history that their grounds entail. Castles were built primarily in Europe in the years of 1000 to 1550 AD. The general assumption of a castle is a gigantic stone building which is built lavishly to serve the needs of royalty. This might be a typical scene from a movie, though in reality castles were often wooden, damp, uncomfortable facilities built strictly for the purpose of warfare. Early castles might look quite dinky and subordinate to our expectations of a castle. These castles were built by the Normans of Normandy, France, and were made completely out of wood. Stone castles soon had to be developed due to the advancements in warfare, and early castles were often burnt down by attackers. Some of the major parts of the castle were the gatehouse, dungeons, and battlement. The gatehouse is another term for the main entrance of a castle. It was very important to keep this area well guarded so that invasions did not make their way into the interior of the castle. Often a part of the gatehouse was some form of battlement. Battlement is another term for the holes in the walls and the ledges on the top of the walls that were often used to fire weapons while providing cover. Battlement will always be found surrounding the gatehouse, though similar defense mechanisms are located throughout the castle's walls. Dungeons are probably the most infamous room of a castle. Later castles had dungeons located in the Great Keep, or the tallest building in the castle. The tallest building is also the most secure structure, therefore kings sometimes called this room their living quarters. Many early dungeons didn't actually confine prisoners in a particular room. They just punished prisoners by not allowing them to leave the castle while they were allowed to roam the castle grounds. There wasn't really any entertainment offered in medieval castles. The primary means of entertaining were eating, drinking, and music.
Welcome to our beautiful Rainbow Castle. If you can't see our artwork here on the wall, it's so gorgeous. But if you don't mind just stepping in for a second, I'm going to show you around a little bit. Oh wait, there's no front door here that I'd like to throw in, that we're currently going through a couple remodels. So there's going to be a nice front door right here, and also there's going to be a moat out front, and it's going to be filled with alligators, vicious crocodiles. Now if you happen to stop by, or you try to attack us maybe, let's hope not, but if you try to attack us, you better know how to jump high, because that moat is going to have some vicious gators that will kill you. Welcome to our bathroom area, also known as guard robes. Now, just please excuse me for a minute. I'm trying to relieve myself. You know, I didn't really have time to do it before you got here. But you might look around and notice we don't have any doors here, but you know, we just have no shame here at Rainbow Castle. But also, I just like to hang my clothes in here because it starts to smell really bad, and this kind of repels the insects. Because, you know, I smell pretty bad, so that's what it takes. Welcome to our dungeon here at the castle. Now please excuse this peasant in here.
Can I get my rations?
You already ate yesterday.
What?
I'm sorry. What?
Sir,
Yeah.
I need food.
Shut up for a minute, I'm trying to film a video. But yeah, this is a really important part of the castle because peasants like this need to be jailed at some point in time. Check out my 2015 Maybach Chariot. That's right, it's really exclusive. You've seen it here first, all right? Check out this massive motor here. I think it's a Hemi or so. You know, it pulls around, I don't know, 2 horsepower, but you know, only when they're attached, not right now. But you know, so I'll kind of show you a little demonstration. God, these seats are comfortable. Oh, here's my engine right here, just in time. Yes, all right, let's go. Let's go. Giddy up. Welcome to the battlement of our castle. Now, it doesn't look like much, but the front of the castle really is the most important defense mechanism of this castle. Now, if you look at our beautiful battlement here, and it's these things, and it's what we use to align our weapons so we can kill attackers and murder them. Now here's the well of the castle. That's probably the most important part of our castle. You know, because if defenders really want to attack us, they will most likely contaminate our water source, and that will really take out a lot of people here. But let's take a look in. Wow, it seems to be kind of dried up, and there's a horse in there, I believe. That's really weird. Thanks for stopping by Rainbow Castle, but honestly, you're gonna have to get the out. So we have some people over there. Hey! Who goes there? Yeah, you! What's your name?
Tony, with Black Rainbow Castle.
Tony! That name sucks! Hold up, give me a second, I gotta find something for you. Just 1 second, I gotta find it. Oh. Found it!
Are you guys gonna take that?
No.
Oh, then just do something about that.
Let's go, man.
Step back to the Rainbow Castle! Terrible shot!
Fire the catapult!
Mangonel is a term derived from a Latin word meaning engine of war. The mangonel is a type of catapult built by the Romans in 400 BC and was used in Europe during the medieval era, mainly by the French. It was used to fire heavy projectiles from a bowl-shaped bucket at the end of its arm to destroy castle walls or inflict damage on enemy troops. Objects such as large stones, fire, burning tar, burning sand, or decomposing materials were hurled at the enemies when mangonels and other catapults were occupied. Mangonels were one of the best forms of catapults used for warfare. Trebuchets were more accurate than mangonels but were made to hurl objects over walls, while mangonels had the power to hurl objects through walls. Mangonels were very versatile weapons. The pulling power could often be adjusted because the power of a mangonel was controlled by many trained workers.
Man, I need more arrows. The ballista was one of the many siege weapons used during the Middle Ages. The design of the ballista was very similar to a giant crossbow, but was restricted due to the fact that it was stationary. The word ballista is derived from the Greek word ballistes, meaning to throw. Also, the ballista is believed to be an ancient war engine, which was invented by the Greeks, but then later modified by the Romans in 400 BC. From being known as a highly accurate siege engine, the ballista required expert building and design skills to be ready for battle. The two arms of the ballista were made of wood, while the ropes attached to each arm, which were typically made from human hair or animal sinew, were the springs of the ballista. The ropes on the ballista were twisted as the bow arms were pulled back by a winch. Although the ballista was highly accurate, its range was less than that of the Great Trebuchet. The design of the ballista was such that it could be built in many different sizes to fit each situation, and that it could be configured to throw either stones or bolts. The ammunition that the ballista used were much lighter than that of the heavy trebuchet stones, and usually consisted of steel bolts, darts with iron points, sharp wooden poles, body parts, and other various objects. Ballistas were also built on a pivoting frame to allow for quick repositioning for the next shot. The ballista was a significant medieval siege weapon which provided accurate kills all throughout the battlefield and could also take out stone walls with its heavy steel bolts.
Put your backs into it, men. We're almost to the wall.
Push!
What?
The siege tower was a specialized siege engine designed to protect soldiers and ladders attacking the defensive walls of a castle, town, or fortress. The siege tower was usually a tall, rectangular construction with 4 wheels and a height roughly equal to that of the wall, or sometimes higher, to allow archers to stand on top of the tower and shoot into the fortification. Near the top of the siege tower was a strategically placed drawbridge, which was lowered to allow the attackers to race over the walls of the fortress. Due to the size, expense, and considerable time required to build a siege tower, they were the last type of siege weapon to be constructed at a prolonged siege when fortification could not be penetrated by lateral assault, mining, or by the pounding of walls. The relative safety offered by the siege tower from missile or fire was due to the cover that it offered the soldiers. The framework of the siege tower was covered in animal hides, and at the last minute, when the siege tower was about to be rolled or wheeled into place, the hides were soaked in mud and vinegar to add further protection. There were even iron plates which could be added to the siege tower, although this was an extremely expensive option. In addition to soldiers, siege towers could also be used to hold other siege engines. For example, some siege towers were known to have a battering ram built into the lower level of the structure. Siege towers were also built with catapults positioned at the top. The relative safety offered by the siege tower also led to several variations. For example, a horizontal version was developed to provide cover for a battering ram. Many preparations had to be made before deploying a siege tower. Since many castles and fortresses were surrounded by moats and ditches, these would have to be filled with earth and rubble first. The ground leading up to the attacking position would also have to be carefully chosen to allow for the easy transportation of the siege tower. When all was ready, the siege tower would be rolled and pushed into place next to the wall. During the attack, the men would be positioned on all levels of the siege tower. Once the drawbridge on the top was lowered, soldiers would rush over to the walls of the fortification. Siege towers were used extensively by the Roman Empire. After the empire collapsed, siege towers became more elaborate and reached their peak during the medieval period. For example, in 1266, at the siege of Kenilworth Castle in England, 200 archers and 11 catapults operated from a single tower. With the development of large cannons, however, siege towers became vulnerable and obsolete, as the cannons could be used to destroy both the siege towers and castle walls.
Move the battering ram, men!
The battering ram was a very basic siege weapon meant to splinter doors or knock down walls of castles. It was usually used related to the Viking raids, but other armies often used them as well. Mostly called the siege engine, they were often wheeled and pushed into place and fitted with a giant log or beam, which was often suspended by chains or ropes and fitted with a metal tip, usually shaped as a ram's head. The tops were covered either with wood or a hide canopy to protect from arrows fired over the castle walls as a defense against the siege engine. This could combine with hot oil to set the roof canopy or the people pushing the siege engine on fire. Walls were often very easy to knock down in the medieval ages due to not having modern building materials and increased tension in the walls due to improper building knowledge. This made the battering ram a prime weapon to siege a town or castle and knock down any foe in its path. The battering ram was often used as a psychological weapon. This alone would often scare defenders, and they would either flee or surrender to the attackers. Even in some cases, attackers could use it as a bridge when placed into a big moat or trench. The battering ram was often slow and often called the tortoise in many battles. Although it may be cumbersome and very vulnerable to attack, it was often a benefit for any attacking army as a psychological and blunt siege weapon.
This is not looking good. I'm about to call in my Rainbow Army. I don't have an army. You still filming?
Yeah, I'm still.
course I did.